It was a very, very strong debate in my mind today about how to release this episode, because there is no doubt in my mind that I was going to record what I'm going to record in this episode today. Because however you see this, to me it's a personal journal. Whatever it has become in your head, what it has become for me is a place where I just put my thoughts and everything. And sometimes, after my sister listened to one episode and she was like, "Are you sure this is not too much information?" She was right. But I don't know how else to do it. And in this episode, I was thinking, do I record this and just not share the link to people on WhatsApp? I share the link and just record it and keep, so for those who seek it, they can be the ones to find it and find the things that I say. Because not recording it at all, it's out of the question. But then I decided to record it, and I figured there is a middle ground. I could get my point across without laying bare every single piece of information possible. That one would be a bit too much. So I could leave out the extensive details for much later. Everything I want to talk about here now has a basis in writing, has a foundation that I've already written down. So I can always expatiate on this later. Today I was thinking about my life, doing some introspection. But I'll call it automatic one because it was just in my head. And then for some reason it was affecting my feed as I was scrolling on Instagram, and I began to see more of deeper and deeper content, content that forces you to think about yourself. Self-discovery type shit, Familiar with that kind of content. It's just that I hadn't seen it in a while. And I was enjoying it, but it was giving me a deep sense of, I'm getting somewhere. And then boom, I landed upon one. And to be honest, what I saw in that reel is not something that was new to me. It's something that I've seen in maybe one or two other reels before, where they said, your life changes after 3... Is it ADHD or what? I just get distracted by stuff. Your life changes when you have encounters with these 6 people. And these 6 people are like 6 versions of yourself. The childhood you, and then, I don't know, the moment I saw this, I just picked out pen and paper and started writing, because I said today I'm not going to just see something that might change my life and scroll past it like it's information. People, we get dopamine from information. You're just learning stuff and you're feeling good about yourself that you're learning stuff, but you're not really implementing anything. So it's just for the moment. But this time I took my pen and my paper and I began to write. And they said, imagine yourself in a conference room with these 6 people. Your childhood self, your teenage self. Who be this one with this square car making noise now? Trying to be deep and wholesome here. Your masked self. Masked is clear, it's self-explanatory to people who know what that means. Like, the phase of your life where you were most pretending. Your early adult self, your broken self, and your future self. I refer to myself as Coke sometimes, but most times in my innermost self, I refer to myself as Chigozie, because that is the only name I heard myself called for the earlier part of my life. growing up. So how I wrote it was childhood Chigozie, teenage Chigozie, masked Chigozie, early adult Chigozie, broken Chigozie, future Chigozie. And I implore you, if you're listening to this, if you've not tried this, try it. Just try it. I don't know in what ways to change your life, but it will give you insight that you've never gotten before from any other exercise that you've ever tried. That Kweka has left. Let me go back and stand at my spot. And then there are 6 questions you have to ask these selves of yours. And she said, visualize it like all of you are sitting at a conference table, at a meeting. And you have each part, and in my mind I just thought about it. I know what my 10-year-old self was like. I have pictures of myself from 10. I remember my existence and what my life was like in that moment, in those moments. So I vividly imagine myself in every phase, and I put them in each chair, in a round table. And then these questions. What do you need to hear? And this is a question you would ask every individual self. So what did the childhood me need to hear? What did the teenage me need to hear? And while I was writing this list, those phases of my life were characterized by certain things I can remember. And I'm realizing now that those things that I can remember about those phases are what I would call pain points or pivotal points. Things that shaped my perception of life from that era. So, in my childhood Chigozie, these are the things that I said I wasn't going to do in this episode. I wasn't going to bear too much. But there are certain things in my childhood Chigozie that I wrote that characterize what I can remember feeling from that era. And I can't say everything because some of them might be too deep, but I remember smart kid. I remember that I felt like I was a clever kid. I think that's probably the only one I can say out of everything I've seen in this childhood one. I'm trying to look at something else here. What did I write here? Anyway, I can't see it. But from different phases of my life, my early adulthood, there are different things. That was where I was at the peak of arrogance. So I put them all in brackets beside, because those are the things that characterize my existence in those periods. And then the second question, what have I been carrying? And I wrote it as who sent me, but I know that that's not how they said it. And why? Who gave me that load? The third question, if I trusted that this would work out, if I trusted this would work out, this third question, I don't know. Let me check some of the answers to see how I answered it. Yeah, if I trusted that life was going to work out the way I want it to, then what would I have done in all these phases of my life? What would I have done in all phases of my life to ensure that, then life would have worked out perfectly, just the way I wanted it to be? And 4, if you don't have your pen and paper at this point, you probably should, because we can just do this together while you're listening to this thing. The 4th question, who have I been ignoring but holds the key? Did I answer this one as who? I think I answered it as what. I think I answered it as what I have been ignoring but holds the key. Well, I think it's still kind of the same. So who or what have you been ignoring but holds the key? Key might be key to whatever, but you know that it takes it that holds the escape from whatever it is that you feel stuck in, in that time period, in that phase of your life. Remember all the phase of your life I'm answering this question. In fact, I didn't have to remember any of this. You don't have to remember. It's ingrained already. You know that's what's happening. The 5th question, what am I afraid to say out loud? Like right now, I know that what I'm afraid to say out loud is, okay, I've said that one out loud, so it's kind of not a fear anymore. What I used to be afraid of saying out loud before was, I'm going to have the biggest podcast in this country. Simple as that. I wanted to start adding ad-libs but if my priorities change, well, I might not be committed to starting anymore. If life takes me to another direction, I might have a new goal, even though it's still going to be excellence that I seek. So maybe this one is too direct, but whatever. All things being equal as it is now, I will be the one who has the biggest podcast in this country at some point, considering law of diminishing returns and that. Anyway, that's that. I used to be afraid of saying that. But what I'm afraid of saying right now is, what if I don't make it? What if it doesn't work out? But then the question is, so this entire graph, I'm going to get back to the questions, but this entire graph is so beautiful because you answer all these questions individually, and then when you go through the whole thing, you start seeing how yourself from every phase, they link up with all these questions you ask. You see a common trait among all of them: the feeling of inadequacy, your fears. They all just line up. And then if you ask, like this question of what are you afraid to say, if you had just said it out loud, you see that your fears would have been undone. In one of mine, my fear was, what if I lose some of these things? There are certain things. I'm just dragging myself to be saying some things that I didn't plan to say in this podcast. But there are certain things I was like, what if I lose these things? And then I lost those things. And Kini, what now happened? But if I had asked the question out loud, maybe to somebody, then the answer would have been, what do you do to prevent this thing from happening? And then I probably would have figured out a way to prevent it. So the things you're scared of saying out loud, you should probably say them, and then you might speak it into existence or something. Or at least you would avoid the badness. And the last one is, what does my future self never tolerate? Now, that is the exercise. You write down yourself from different phases, and then you ask each one these questions. The future self really doesn't have much to it. Doesn't answer every single question. I think he answers about 4 out of the 6 or so. But do that exercise. I will give you an example. I said I was going to pick one. And give an exercise and show you exactly how this thing works, or how it worked with me. Alright, torch is on. I picked my broken self. There are different things when I think about myself in a broken state. There are different things that I wrote down in the bracket. One of them is when I'm broke. When I'm broke, I don't know, man. Money has a huge effect on me. So when I'm broke, is one of the reasons. It's one of the you get the idea. And then the other things happen in my life that I think broke me. Whenever I get into a gambling debt, and other stuff. Anyway, so you get a general idea. When I feel useless, you get a general idea of what a broken me would be like in some cases, right? Let's not go too deep. But this takes you deep. That's the thing. It takes you deep. I don't know. Some people might be listening to this now and be thinking, Jesus, this is so much. Is there an exorcism happening? I don't know if you guys can hear that. Maybe it's just dogs howling, whatever. Is it a full moon? You can't even see a moon. Right. Broken Chigozie, what do you need to hear? It's for the lessons and growth. I don't know why I wrote one before growth here. What is that for the lessons and one growth? It's for the lessons and growth. You get much better if you learn and apply. I've not put these things in words before, but now I know that if I'm in any of those states of where I'm feeling broken, if I come back to this thing that I've written, even if I don't even come back to it, at least I have conscious thought that this thing I'm going through is temporary and I'm learning something from it. and it's for the sake of growth. It's for the sake of growth. You don't just go from stable, up. There's got to be some dip. And then learn and apply. So it's going to change the way I see those situations of, that make me feel broken, or anything that happens that makes me feel broken. The next one is, what am I carrying, and who gave me this load? And in those situations where I feel broken, I carry shame, I carry anger, I carry defeat. And then what gave me that load? My choices. See the clarity it gives. My choices. So if you want to avoid it, watch your choices. Watch my choices, basically. Then if it was going to work out, broken me would have stash, never giving up. So basically, never give up. So keep going, like through the... I'm doing it like I'm preaching. But I had on Unbelievable Insights one time. I said, why is it unbelievable? Like, it was impressive. Like, if you're in the abyss and you can't see a way, the best way to get out of it is through. They say there's light at the end of the tunnel, but even if you can't see the light, if you keep moving, just keep doing what you're doing as long as you're alive. If I'm in the abyss, I'm in this darkness, in this void, in this place of nothingness, as long as I'm making efforts forward and going, even if I lose everything, lose my hair, lose my skin, bone down to it, as long as there is something that can move forward, that can propel me, I will propel myself until I burst out through one side. And it's just how to deal with the times when I feel broken. What am I ignoring that holds the key? This was what I was supposed to be, who am I ignoring, or what am I ignoring that holds the key? Knowledge of my power and my essence. I feel shame and all these things when it happens, the baggage that I carry, but then, what do I remember that holds the key? Who I am. I am me. I am him in my own mind. Like, I'm that guy. I know this is not... Sometimes it comes as a fleeting feeling. But even when I'm at baseline, I recognize my power, I recognize my essence. But then when something happens that breaks me, I forget it. And then all these demons creep in, start giving me this feeling of shame and defeat and all these things. But then, what can I remember? What am I ignoring? I'm ignoring my essence. I'm ignoring that I know who I am. That I am him without everything else, without anything else. Yes, we are all random babies. Yes, I'm a random baby. If Humphrey didn't meet Bernadette at a certain time to create me, it would be somebody else. But that is how random it is for everybody else still. So it's not as if, Elon Musk himself, it is the same random. It could have been something else, or somebody else that would have been born. Whatever, astrology would have been different. Probably would have been a different person altogether. I would not know of him as the person we know now. It's all a very, very slim coincidence what we have in the world today as what we have in the world today. But in that randomness, I am here, so I am him. Why do I forget that? Because of some random occurrence, even if it's my mistake. It's just a day in a life, it's not. So that gives me power. And like I said, if I lose my skin and bone in trying to move through the abyss of darkness that I find myself in by my choices, even if I lose everything, my essence will make it through. The knowledge of the power that I carry. Okay, enough figures here. People are listening to this shit. What are you afraid to say out loud when I'm broken? Is I'm better... What I wrote here, I'm better than this. I'm higher than this. I don't belong here. This one is not even like affirmation or something. This is the answer that came to my mind in the moment. So I really feel these things when I'm broken, but I don't say it out loud. Why? And that is how I'm able to feel defeated. So you see how they all connect, even though I answered these questions individually. In fact, between the answer of one question under the same category and the answer of the next question under the same category, I've answered so many others. You feel me? I've thought about it. I've shed a tear or two. But they all still align. I wasn't thinking about them all at the same time, but they all align. That's why this thing is so fucking powerful. And then I sat and I went over this list again and thought about it and meditated over it like properly. And this is just me sharing with you guys one phase of me that I've taken through this exercise. And there are 6 phases that you take through this exercise. And at the end of the day, it gives you an insight about who you are, your personality, why you do what you do, why you think you are who you are. But also, it makes you recognize that none of that is you and everything is changeable. And I mean, I cannot use words to tell you how useful this exercise is, but I couldn't just keep it to myself. I'm purely somebody who has a platform like I do. Well, it's only for people who are good living people that will see it like this. But anyway, this has been a longer episode than the others. We are going to still wait till the 22nd minute. Did you write this thing down? Did you even get to this point in the episode? Oh, give a fuck. You know what? Yo, I just saw the fattest rat. Oh my god. If you see the rats, I just passed my front now. Love you guys. See you tomorrow.